I went into an identity crisis because I'm like, yo, it looks like, these sisters out here, these women, they want the gangster. They me transform from being the nerd and go ahead and, act like Tupac. Because it seems like that's what everybody like. That tough guy role, that, not showing the emotions. We came up, it looks like that's winning at the end of the day. It looks like the gentleman has no place in this world. And even fast forward to 2026, sometimes it still feels that way.
No man should desire for himself or his family to be vulnerable or in a vulnerable position. Most people today use vulnerability to mean emotional openness or transparency. But the actual definition of vulnerability means susceptible to danger, harm, or even death. So when men are told, be vulnerable, what they hear subconsciously is lower your defenses. And that's why so many men recoil when they hear the word. And this isn't a matter of semantics. Your heart was never meant to be unguarded. For it is written, above all else, guard your heart with all vigilance. That's why I tell men, don't be vulnerable, be transparent. Vulnerability says, you can wound me. Transparency says, you can see through me while I show you who I really am.
With your brother, not just reps, but regrets. Ask what's heavy on your heart, not how much you bench press. We rewrite the definition of strong from the root. Soft voice, steady eye contact. That's unshakable. We unpack what we can.
I like that. That was deep. That was deep.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite clips from Jason, man. I think it wraps it up pretty clear, like why we're uncomfortable, even with, just the concept of vulnerability.
Yeah, I like how he said being transparent. You could see through me. That just like triggered something. I was like, whoa, okay. I felt that right there. Being transparent versus being vulnerable. That's deep because whenever I hear, being a veteran, and I hear somebody say, hey, you need to be vulnerable about this. And I'd be like, I'm not letting my guards down because I don't know what you about to do. I don't know what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. So being transparent, I'm sorry. I'm going to use that. I like that.
That's it right there. What I like about it is you in control. You feel me? Like, not in a bad way, but you're setting boundaries. You got standards. You're not emotionally leaking. You're just, again, like you said, being transparent. You're being open. I'm giving you access to see me. I'm not just out here wilding out to the point where my walls are down. I'm unguarded. I'm all over the place. Everything is structured, balanced, and boundaries, man. So I can dig that right there.
Honestly, it's super powerful because the moment that someone says that they can see you clearly, or maybe you just tell them how you got to this point, they can now see through you and see the change in your life. You are different than what you were. So that's a beautiful clip, man.
I can remember whenever, after me and my wife was going through the things that we was going through, I used to tell her, whenever I really started stepping up and started working on me, I used to ask her, do you see me? Like, do you see me? And she used to be like, of course she was still pissed off at me. I see you. But I was like, but do you see me? Transparently, do you see me? I'm not trying to be vulnerable right now. I'm trying to be transparent. I like that. The part of just being transparent so that you can see the real me. What do you guys think? As young boys, we learn that emotions aren't acceptable.
Man, I'm probably going to sound like, I guess, 90% of the men that's out here, bro. It's social conditioning, man. Like, boys don't cry. We get it from our dads. We get it from our moms, our uncles, aunties. But for the most part, a lot of people in our communities and our families, friends, etc., growing up, everyone, regurgitated the exact same thing. Boys aren't supposed to cry. Boys aren't supposed to feel. You're just supposed to man up and keep it pushing, keep going, keep doing this, keep moving and shaking or whatever. You're not supposed to feel. So as a young man, as a young boy, honestly, I think for the most part, these are our first encounters of young boys aren't supposed to like feel. We aren't, feelings aren't acceptable. You're supposed to put a lid on that joint. You feel something, you crying or whatever, you feel down or you feel out. You ain't got no time to cry. You ain't got no time to feel. You put a lid on it and you keep it going. So social conditioning, we heard these things from the jump, from the womb to make light of the situation. We've been hearing this since we were young kids, man.
For the most part, man, very easily, it's easy to lean into one particular emotion more than others because the rest of them, it wasn't okay for you to feel it. I remember being sad as a kid. Man, you couldn't just be sad, let's say elementary school when people are, you're just now starting to notice things about your peers and you could be called, some not so nice names. And I think that stuff even evolves into like our dating relationships later on. Very easily I can be comfortable being mad because at the very least I'm still tough, or I had the appearance of still being tough. Just not as safe for boys or men to experience certain emotions.
And just like you, both of you said, like man up. Boys don't cry. You know that right there. Those statements clearly communicate that vulnerability is weakness. So, we learned that as a kid that you can't be vulnerable. That means you're weak. So that's why we normally we hold our feelings in as when we become men. We hold our feelings. We don't want to express our feelings because then if I express my feelings to you, I think that you're gonna use that against me. And a lot of times, and I'm not saying like every woman does this. Some women they will use your vulnerability against you. And then once that happens, then you like, man, I'm never gonna tell you my feelings now. I'm never gonna tell you how I feel because my feelings don't matter. So because you just use that against me, why do I need to open it to you? Now you know what? I'm gonna be hard from now on. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah, no, you said something powerful, bro, because it's almost like men, we get praised for being the tough guy, the gangster, the monster, or whatever. And now, fast forward is like it throws a lot of us off. It throws a lot of confusion because we would think that, the world wants us to be these tough guys, these gangsters or whatever. But now it's like, okay, y'all want these soft gentlemen. You guys want these men that are emotional, intelligent, or whatever the case may be. But it's like, yo, give or take, like, what do the world want from us as men? Like it throws a lot of us off. You know what I mean? Coming up, bro, I went into an identity crisis because I'm like, yo, it looks like, these sisters out here, these women, they want the gangster. So I'm like, yo, let me transform from being the nerd, from being the bookworm or whatever the case. And I'm like, let me go ahead and, act like Tupac. Because it seems like that's what everybody like. You feel me? But yeah, it's like that tough guy role, that, not showing the emotions or whatever. We came up and it's like, yo, it looks like that's winning at the end of the day. It looks like the gentleman has no place in this world. And even fast forward to 2026, sometimes it still feels that way.
And you said it, golly, both of y'all really put it together. Because, I mean, besides having to be the cool guy, you know what I'm saying? Whatever that means, where you from, having to be the cool guy instead of just overtly enjoying what you enjoy. Some of us like different types of movies. I don't know, Game of Thrones, anime, if you will. But you bet not like that stuff too much and then let certain people know because who knows, they're going to look at you funny. The one thing I'll tell you right now, just me personally, man, I was the biggest lover boy as a kid. Big lover boy, man. I wanted me a woman so bad. You know what I'm saying? The girls that I liked and I grew up, I lived in probably 3 different projects as a kid, man. Them girls didn't want me. I was too soft, It was the guys down the street that was on the block that, that the most visible and the most appealing. And I understand that not now. So I leaned into being cool. You know what I'm saying? I went from being caring about grades to just caring about being cool and being nonchalant.
Mm-hmm.
And that became my personality well into my adulthood. I'm a relatively like introverted and relaxed person anyway, so it works. It's not a faking thing. But who knows who I could have been if I'd have felt comfortable just really embracing myself.
And just like you said, that goes into emotional detachment. Just, I'm pretty sure everybody heard this before. Good guys finish last. It's true because in today's world, like if you are emotionally aware of your feelings, the women nowadays they're gonna be like, man, he's soft. I don't want that. That's not what I want. But then if you too hard, we're like, I need you to be soft a little bit. It's like, dang, I don't think nobody really knows what they really want. But, as a man, over time, what continues to happen is we are now falling short of our own personalities. Like, that's when, like you said before, you had a personality crisis and because we don't know who we are because of society.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we get away from this? How do we actually explore like being vulnerable? I guess I started learning now being vulnerable because I have daughters. So me having daughters, I have to be vulnerable to their emotions, and I got to be a lot softer with them than I am with my sons. So I got to be vulnerable, and then it's like, but I still want them to understand that dad is still the G. So don't get it twisted. But I have to be vulnerable with my daughters because it's like I want them to be able to come to me whenever they are emotionally detached from themselves in reality and they want to talk about something soft that they don't want to talk to mom about. And a lot of times I want them to talk to me about certain things because, I be in dad mode. But other times it's like, do I be vulnerable with them all the time or do I be vulnerable with them sometimes? Then I have my older daughters that's in college. They're now walking around now, listening to other guys that they run into, and I'm like, well, that's not what they're supposed to do. And say, well, Dad, like I seen you be lovey-dovey with mama. I'm like, but that's not how that's supposed to go. But they be like, nah. So then I look at the boys that they are choosing. They always say that the women, they're gonna end up marrying a guy that's somewhat similar to what their dad was. But then when I see the guys that they be chasing or dating, I'd be like, hey, man, that's completely different to me. I think sometimes I could be a little bit vulnerable with them, with my feelings, so that they understand. But I do know that them too, use it against me.
Bro, first, I'm going to give you praise, man, for creating that space for your family to be open, to be vulnerable, to be transparent. And to answer your question real quick, why do you be vulnerable? For me, man, listen, bro, I just needed healing. You feel me? Like I needed to be open. Like I needed to be transparent. I needed to build up confidence. I needed to build up I guess you can say, a mindset of, I want to be a better individual. And I can't be a better Coach Chris. I can't be a better man unless I open up to somebody and really express like, fam, this is what's going on with me. This is my why. This is why I think the way that I think. This is why I do the things that I do. You get to a point where you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And once you reach that breaking point, it's like you got no other choice but to be vulnerable. Got no other choice but to be transparent. I come to Mac, I come to Jackson, I'll be like, yo, I got these issues, man. I'm tired, bro. I'm tired of running. And I'm like, you drop your guard, not in a bad way, but it's just that I'm a believer of conversation brings change. And then when I get into a place of, having a conversation with my brothers, with a therapist, with my pops, whoever, a trusted individual, I'm like, I feel good after the fact, man. So for me, man, I just needed to build up confidence and I just needed healing at the end of the day. So I'm big on the transparency piece, big on the vulnerability, because I'm like, yo, the longer you keep stuff to yourself, can't nobody help you. We ain't no mind readers out here. You feel me?
Man, it's trial and error. I would say that. Because every woman that you meet, they're gonna be different, and they're gonna be a little softer. They're gonna be a little harder, right? To me, it's trial and error, like how a man can open up to a woman and how safe. Because you can't even say if a woman is willing to tell you things because she could be lying, or she might be telling you things just so that you can tell her things so that she can use it against you. Again. We men sometimes confuse emotional openness with emotional exposure. So because we don't want to be exposed, we don't want to be that person that ended up being a meme like Michael Jordan was when he was crying, or who was the other guy that was crying? Yeah, LeBron. They made a big meme about him because he was crying about some things. And then I think it was Genuine too. He was crying about something that his daughter did. They made a meme about it. So a lot of times we keep our feelings inside because we don't want to open up because we don't know if the woman is capable, or matter of fact, I ain't gonna say capable. We don't know that the woman can actually handle the baggage that we're gonna tell her about because it might be too heavy for her.
Yeah, listen, bro. Yeah, man, I'm smiling because I'm like, yo, because this is when a man unpacks. Is honestly, a lot of people can't even handle that. When we, express what's hurting us, when we express what's going on with us, when we express, we're displeased, our desires, our thoughts and feelings, man, a lot of people, men and women, they can't even handle it. And both of you guys, and I wanted to touch on this. I'm glad you guys brought it up because I used to date someone and we was having a intense fellowship. And I'm gonna just say, for those that don't know what that is, that's an argument. And I brought up something that took place a month ago that really, traumatized me, like it hurted me. When I was, when I expressed what was going on, I'm like, yo, she's flipped it on me and she said, yo, you sound like a female by bringing something up that took place in the past. And I'm like, yo, I ain't gonna stunt, like that messed me up. And I'm like, dang. I'm like, I ain't finna say nothing else to you ever again. But that statement right there. So you right, bro. It is trial and error. I'm almost 30, I'm almost 40, 39. So I would never say every woman out here is like that. But it's enough of them out here that's like that. And so you do gotta watch your step, watch where you're, expressing yourself or whatever. When someone is consistent and, they're showing you love and they're showing you like, yo, they actually care about you and they wouldn't, dare step on your toes by you expressing something, whatever the case. If it's an argument or even if it's a chill moment, they would never come at you that type of way and disrespect you to the point where they say, yo, because you bringing something up that took place 4 weeks ago, you sound like a female, bro. Never again. So that dating, yeah, bro. Thank y'all for bringing that up because it's real out here. Men do, we go through this type of thing.
I think it's easy to forget. That's a real experience. You know what I'm saying? Some people can describe something and others hear it and they're like, oh, that doesn't really happen. But I want to ask, what are some of like the silent expectations, whether it's verbalized to you or not, that men may feel today?
I would say that one of the silent expectations that we feel today, just to piggyback and off of my relationship with my wife, is sometimes I can have so much big energy because I want to tell you what's on my chest, but I know that I can't tell you what's on my chest because then you may feel that you can't operate in the energy that I'm operating in. So it's almost like I want to express myself, but I can't express myself because I don't want to walk on eggshells thinking that I know there's something. And now she's over there thinking like, oh, so that's how this dude really felt. Or I had to learn it's a time and a place for everything. It's a time for you to express how you feel. It's a time for you to show.
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking, man, and I'm like, yo, which avenue can I go down? The solid expectation, man. I guess I'm gonna stick with the traditional piece, man, that we never feel anything and then we just always strong. You know what I mean? Like we don't need any rest. We don't need, encouragement. We don't need affirmation. We don't need confirmation. And I get it. A lot of brothers out here move and shake and we get up from the crack of dawn and we may go to bed at 9, 10 o'clock at night and we make life seem so easy. You know what I mean? I get it. We do got to put on that face as far as like, just being optimistic, being positive, being the strong one. But we really could use, a lifeline. You know what I mean? We do get tired. We do grow weary sometimes, man. And just a love offering as far as like a word of encouragement, it goes a very long way. So don't just because you see a man, 2, 3, 4 years, you can see him work 2 different jobs. You can see him, be a fantastic father, be a fantastic husband. Man, listen, it get to a point where that brother do burn out. And, and a word of encouragement, that will go a long way to like, just encourage him and just pep him up for the day or the week or the month or whatever, man. So we're strong, but sometimes we do need to take those capes off and just kind of woo-saw a little bit, so don't get it twisted. We do need a moment to breathe.
Man, the silent expectation that always gets me, and I didn't even realize it probably till just now, man. Just the example that I seen as a kid, so my granddad, honestly, he was a really good household leader, as far as like on the provider aspect. So we ain't know nothing about no bills. My grandma, when she went and paid the bill, it was with his money. So that was the kind of thing that I'm like, okay, I need to be able to do that. And that's a hell of a thing to ask for my, a brand new adult, if you will, 18, 20-year-old kid. That's a whole lot when you compare yourself to men that, are established. And I think that's, kind of a unfair thing. And honestly, that can lead to kind of trapping yourself in some feelings that honestly should have never been there. So that's really what I think about as far as like silent expectations, maybe something that we saw at some point. And that was a really great example between y'all for real.
All right. So what do you think, Phil? Do you think it's a fear of losing respect from your partners or from people that's around you if you become vulnerable?
Go ahead, brother Chris.
Man, listen, yes and no. I say yes because just a universal answer is always that fear. Like if I expose myself too much, someone's going to think of me a certain type of way or whatever the case. But man, as I've gotten older, wiser, done some healing, done some inner work, I'm going to be honest with you, man, I could care less what somebody think because I got to get mine at the end of the day. You feel me? And honestly, I do want to encourage other brothers to, take that stance. Don't even operate in fear. Expressing yourself. Do it in a wise way. Don't tell everybody in all your business or what, but it is important to speak up. It is important to get some stuff off of your chest. It is important to not operate in fear. Just operate in confidence, operate in boldness. Definitely you walk with boundaries and standards, but man, don't overthink to the point where, somebody is going to be mocking you or laughing at you at our big grown age, because honestly, ain't nobody out here perfect. And somebody's out here, they're going through something that you're probably going through at the exact same time. And when you express what's going on with you, they can get the healing that you getting, and everybody just bouncing off each other. It's a yes and no question. Universally, yeah, you can be a little fear, but I do want to encourage people, don't even operate in fear. Just speak your piece and go on about your business.
And I would absolutely agree. Like when it comes down to it, you can't let fear be a part of that. Obviously, we're talking about vulnerability, but the very moment that we really discuss like transparency, you let go of fear. Hey, I'm showing you who I am, and if you're proud of who you are, then you have nothing to be ashamed of. There's plenty of stuff in my past that, hey, honestly, a lesser version of me, man, I'd be ashamed to talk about that. But today, it's just a part of who built. I'm standing on that. I'm standing on the things that were in my past, and that's just it's a brilliant thing to own those things.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. I love it, man. So I want to ask you guys a question. What's the difference between emotional safety and emotional access?
I would think that emotional safety, right? I feel safe with giving you what I think I can give you and feel safe about it and know that you're going to use it against me. And emotional access is I'm giving you access to everything about me. And it's how you deal with the information that I done gave you, what you're going to do with it. And I think access and safety, like, am I going to tell you everything or am I going to give you everything?
When I think of emotional safety, I'm thinking about the boundaries that I'm testing. I'm going to give you a little bit in my mind, that may tell me how much access someone can get from me. The emotional safety part, okay, can you hold this much water? If so, maybe I can give you more and trust you with that. But emotional access to me is more like volatile of the two, just because the deeper that someone can get into your psyche, into understanding your emotions, if you can trust them with that information and how you work, where your buttons are, if you can trust them with that, fantastic. I think that's where they get to know where the buttons are and how things work. It doesn't always have to be a bad thing when someone can push your buttons. Maybe they know how to de-escalate you as well. And that's a beautiful thing. So I think with the right person and the right access, if you can trust them with that, that access is absolutely granted.
Big facts, man. Both of you fellas, y'all nailed it. My part, I agree with both of y'all, to be honest with you. The emotional access, that's reserved for somebody that's trusted. I know I can go to my pops and be like, yo, dad, I'm dealing with this, and just let it all out. I mean, my man's raised me since I was 0 years old, 1 year old, since I was in Pampers. So I'm like, I trust this individual. I can go to a therapist and be like, hey, this is what's going on. This is a trusted individual. I can vouch for him. The emotional safety piece, Jackson and Coach, y'all said it best. I'm like, I'm testing the waters right now. Emotional safety, I'm still trying to figure this thing out myself. So as I figure it out, I'm going to give you bits and pieces as I get bits and pieces as well, man. And then the emotional access is like, that's reserved for somebody that's validated and trusted.
If vulnerability felt safe just earlier in your life, what might have changed for you? I guess how would that may have molded you? What situation may that have changed for you?
I guess I would say, like, how I feel about females in my family. Like women in my family, because I was vulnerable with my mother and I said, hey, mom, can we talk? I want to tell you something. And I don't know how you're going to feel about this, but I need to tell you something that has happened to me. And me being able to be vulnerable enough to tell my mom that her baby sister molested me, I would have felt more acceptable to express it to my mom. But instead, it's like just being around the women in my family. That's one thing that she told me. They're not going to believe anything that you tell them. So you could do whatever you want to do because they're not going to believe you. Because, for a long time, that's been a norm in the world that, cause you hear about women being raped, we hear about women being molested, but you don't normally hear about men being molested or raped because they feel that it's not safe to tell somebody because they're not going to believe you. Or they either going to say, man, at least you can say you got some, versus, but that's not what I wanted. I got taken advantage of. So I think, like, if this was, earlier in my life, I would have felt freedom to be able to say, hey, this is what's happening. What you going to do about it? Because for a long time, I used to say, I think you know that this happened, but you just ain't saying it because this has been a norm in our family with molestation.
Mac, why you had to go down that path, man? Bruh, I was thinking about the exact same thing, man. And it's men do go through domestic violence. We do get assaulted. But because of that mockery piece and not being believed, bro, we clamp up. We shut down. It's like, I ain't about to express myself because I'm about to be laughed at and clowned at the end of the day. If vulnerability felt safe early in my life, and I'm about to, finna go back to the mockery piece. And Jackson, I think you touched on it too back in, when you were young in high school, middle school, you was a lover boy. Man, like I said, I'm like, yo, I was a nerd. Like I was killing the game. Straight A's, straight B's, I was doing my thing. But I'm like, yo, I had to switch it up because I wanted to be popular. You know what I mean? I got mocked, for, being myself and being vulnerable, just being me, being the geek or being the cool nerd, whatever you want to call it. But honestly, I feel like I would be further in life now if I would have just, received some words of, I guess you can say, empowerment during high school days and middle school days. I mean, I would be further off in life, man. So vulnerability, if it was safe for me early on in life, yeah, man, I would definitely, I do feel like I would be like a millionaire or something like that, or be running like some successful business, man. If I would have just stayed the course and got empowered to just, hey, it's okay to be you. We don't need another pimp, or we don't need another player in the hall. Like, stick to them straight A's, fam. You good, man. Good stuff, fellas, for real.
Honestly, I think we had a similar experience there, man. I was going to say the same, something very similar. I think very easily I would have turned out to be probably somewhere where I am now. I would have achieved it earlier, honestly, because I all of the fluff was a distraction. I have a lot of memories of things that, honestly, I didn't care to be out that late. You know what I'm saying? That ain't what I cared about. I wanted to be at, at the house doing this thing or that thing, something that was going to contribute to my future. So if vulnerability would have just felt safe for me to just be myself, I would have just simply been closer to the truth of who I was supposed to be.
Man, I like that, man. But just like all three of us done said, is if it would have happened earlier, we would probably be somewhere else in life doing something better, or it would have happened earlier in life. So we unpacked why vulnerability doesn't feel safe. So next we'll be talking about how to build it safely. I'm gonna give you 2 emails that you can reach me. You can reach me at Coach JCMcGugan@gmail.com or at jmcgugan40.
What's going on, beautiful people? I ain't making too much noise, man, but listen, I am a dope brother that really enjoys his community, his people, and I'm an individual that believes conversation makes change. And the whole safe space is for individuals that, just need to talk, vent, and get some stuff off of their chest, man. So you guys can reach me at lifecoach_Chris on IG, and you can also reach me at Facebook at Christopher Henson, Facebook. Peace.
And I am Jackson. If anyone wanted to reach me, you can reach me at that'sjackson@gmail.com. It's that'sjackson on Instagram and TikTok. Those are my primary social medias. So I'm always open to a conversation or a quick Q&A, whatever it is. I'm not hard to find.
We unpack what we can.